I agree that it's crazy times that we're living in. I agree with that. But the bone that I have to pick with the average perception when I talk to people is that it's always been crazy times. Crazy, crazy, crazy. That's why I feel like history is so important. And you can't tell me that people have any kind of decent intimacy with history. The most common example of the lack of appreciation for history, I feel, is when we're talking about black people, for example. And this, and I hate to use this as an example because it's such a triggering subject, but it's just so true. Whenever the state of black people is looked at, the poverty, whatever kind of maladies that exist, what in not taking away any of the criticism, what tends to be forgotten is that for at least 244 years, at least, they were dehumanized, terrorized, subjugated, enslaved. A group of people in this country for that amount of time. Not only that, second, we forget that women for the entirety of history were treated the same for the most part. And the point of remembering these kinds of things, and not only that, it's just so many people, so many individual instances, isolated instances, having, whatever race, whatever gender. My point is that this world has always been calamitous. We have just been living in luxury. And it doesn't mean that we deserve to suffer. It doesn't mean that this isn't any less frightening or unfortunate. All I'm saying is, I feel like there'd be a much more, let's say, well-adjusted sort of comprehension of what's happening. There'd be less hysteria, less selfishness, more community. I feel if we all recognized that history tells us that we're horrible people, that we have been horrible, that without a collective reasoning, without the pursuit of trying to be better, we collapse, we fall apart. We forget, we have amnesia, we become spoiled, we become self-righteous without any justification for it. We feel entitled without any actual justification for it, just because we are spoiled. We are spoiled. And I feel like recognizing that, for me, when I observe what's happening right now, when I look at the misfortune and the surprise, the shock of all this, it's like, well, again, deserve is not the appropriate term to me, but it's more so, it's like, well, yeah, the indigenous peoples of this country, the majority of them fell prey to disease. Just, was it the plague that affected so many people? Let's not forget Ebola. It's not about it being our turn or anything like that. And it's not about, oh, okay, yeah, it's all good. It's not all good either. But my point is that it's not surprising. It's actually surprising that we've had such luxury for so long, that we've been all right for so long. What bothers me about myself, and then what bothers me about other people, is how spoiled we are. How much we take all of our luxury for granted. How much we don't appreciate the blood that has been spilled, the mental effort and the anguish that has been put forth. We're all like, la, 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 la. Again, I can't stress enough. I'm not saying that we deserve a virus or some kind of plague, but what we do need is to wake the fuck up. We do need to wake the fuck up. We all have our heads so far up our asses. We all think we're great. Why do you think you're great? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with thinking you're great, but I'm saying, what are your reasons though? A lot of people think they're great just because. You don't contribute shit. You're not mindful, thoughtful, considerate. You don't really give a fuck about another person. You think you're great just because. And I feel like that is a major folly on our part. I feel like we are arrogant and we're fools. And the first step is in everything I'm saying, I'm applying to myself. So what's the cure then? What am I saying? What I'm saying is that since I don't see any behavior that's really being informed by love your neighbor as yourself, I don't think that there's any really powerful belief anymore, except for realizing how powerful beauty is, for example, and how powerful money is and status and all these superficial things. I think that one of the cures, anyway, is recognizing again with a multicultural society how powerful it is to be in community with each other, despite our differences, superficially speaking. I feel like there needs to be some alignment of just very basic beliefs. Very basic. I still see a degree, like people are still just, when I go in the grocery store, retail stores, they're still toppled on top of each other. Everyone's still rushing like they got somewhere to go. You ain't doing shit. You ain't got nowhere to go. Everyone's still very inconsiderate, very mindless. And I do believe it has to do with our diets, our mental diets, our spiritual diets, what we're consuming unwittingly. I'm a big fan of reconstruction. I'm a big fan of calling yourself out, breaking yourself down so you could build yourself up back again. And also I'm a big fan of harmony and togetherness. Togetherness that has a foundation that's truly substantive. It's not so fucking shallow. We're so shallow. We're so forgetful. We're so arrogant. We're so privileged. That's why I don't like anybody. I don't like anybody. I don't like the average person. I'm not a fan. I have no interest. I mean, you know, so fuck you too, Marcus. Yeah, okay. I think that we suck so badly. And I think one of the very first steps, I really believe this, is I feel like it seems non-negotiable unless you just are naturally somebody. There are people without a doubt who very organically don't take things for granted, and they're mindful, they're thoughtful, and they don't need tragedy to wake up. I needed tragedy to wake up. I needed things to wake up. I need death to wake up, and that's unfortunate. But I'm trying. I continue to try my best to not be so zombified, so in slumber, that it takes very tragic circumstances for me to have a better mindset. And it's tough, but you know what we need? People, if you agree with me and if you feel me, we have to be together. We have to be in commune. And that's easier said than done. It is easier said than done, I admit. This just some thoughts. All right.